Producers changed about midway through, and from what I understand, Eddie Guzlin had different plans for the whole story. I think that I remember I had an interview with the guy who plays Dylan, and he said that he got like the general outline to the new producer, Judd Lynn, who's a classic Power Rangers producer, if you didn't know. He got the general outline, but there were some very specific plans that Dan said that I thought were really cool of the actor. I think we involved Dylan becoming a villain, and he was a plant the whole time. And in one sense, I'm like, man, that's cool. I mean, that's something that's like, you know, the more mature stuff does. But on the same hand, as Dylan being one of my favorite characters, I didn't want to see him get destroyed in the end or something. And they had the idea of his memories of Tanaya being put in. It ended up being, a pretty generic Astronema-like story. I mean, it was pretty much the same as Astronema's if you think about it. I mean, he finds out his sister, she joins the ranks, and then they put the little thing on her head, just like Astronema. But I didn't mind that so much. I should also touch on Tanaya. Tanaya was done very well. Didn't think about her when I was going over all the characters. I really enjoyed her actress. I liked how she wanted to be a part of the fandom, if I remember. I mean, go to Comic-Con or whatever, if I remember something on the boards. But she did a really great job throughout the whole thing. Let me touch here on the Venjix connection, I like to call it, which is that General Venjix has the same name. Well, Venjix has the same name as General Venjix, a.k.a. the Shadowborg from Forever Red. Personally, I would have liked to see the connection made. Being the last season, I thought that would be a really cool thing. The Machine Empire's back with him as the leader. I thought that'd be cool. Even to just take the guilt off Dr. K, because in the end it's like, oh, well, I just created the apocalypse, now I'm going to go make a school or whatever. But I'm not criticizing the end in that part, but I wish it could have just maybe taken the guilt off of her shoulders in that way, and it would have been a really cool way of connecting everything for a final season. But they ended up not doing that, and Venjix was just a virus, which is also a very cool idea. And in the end, things really heated up with Dylan's virus. I thought it was going to be more of a big deal than it was. Like at the end, when his eyes turned red, and then he ended up just getting the serum. I wish they could have, maybe if they had more episodes, they could have had more time to maybe have Dylan versus the Rangers or something, or just drag it out a little more. Trying to think if there's something else I want to touch on before I get to the end. I can't think of it right now, but let's talk about the end. The end was very well done. Even the clip show, most clip shows are pretty horrible, a bunch of people standing around talking about their experiences, but this clip show was pretty well integrated into the plot, and I liked it. And the last 4 episodes were just pretty well done. Especially when Venjix took over the city, I liked that the Rangers were going to take a more active approach to go get Venjix, and then he came in instead, and it was very unexpected in a lot of ways in terms of Power Rangers formulaicness. The end was very well done. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of action. Everyone had their purpose in the finale. I liked that it wasn't so formulaic to the fact that all the Rangers eventually gather, pose, and then kill the guy. I love the fact that the base crashed on him. I thought the finale was very perfect for me. They wrapped up everything nicely. It was a very storybook ending. Everyone had their own role at the end, like an epilogue. It was a very nice ending. Obviously, Jem and Gemma's deaths, where they got vented, was very reminiscent of how Go-Onger did it, so it wasn't very impactful. But still, I thought it was very well done in the end. It was very climactic ending, which ended perfectly. I don't know whether I would have rather seen Eddie's or Judd's final finale. But I thought it was very well done, and it wrapped up things really nicely, especially the last scene with the flower. That was a really nice touch to just bringing the whole story full circle. And overall, it was a very, very awesome season. I love the post-apocalyptic theme, the characters. There was even humor in it, which was great. Something else I want to touch on, I love the fact that they had explanations for all the silly Power Ranger stuff, like the explosions. So you'd be like, see that there, that's an explosion. I mean, that was hilarious. And the fact that they asked why they have to yell RPM getting gear, why the Zords have eyes. I love how they explained why such a serious season had silly Zords. I mean, their optic sensors. I mean, that was just pretty fun. I love the fact that they did that. And that was Eddie's writing. And I really commend them for making fun of themselves at the same time being serious. It was just overall a great series, 10 out of 10. One of my favorite series of all time. I'm very disappointed that now that we finally got our act together with Power Rangers, that we're not going to see any future adaptations. Because now, if Eddie or Judd was in charge of their team, the way they handled RPM, I would have welcomed a Shinkinger or Ghost Ager adaptation, or even in the future. But, I mean, it's not meant to be, so. Overall, RPM, a great series, the perfect series to end Power Rangers as a whole. Glad it wasn't the piece of crap Jungle Fury, Gekko Ranger ripoff. Definitely a great way to end the series. The one thing that I have to say is my biggest complaint about RPM is the fact that they didn't have anything at the end commemorating it. Like, the end they just said Power Rangers RPM or whatever. they do at the end. I wish they would have at least had something saying commemorating 700 episodes, may the power live on forever, like they did at the beginning of Legacy of Power and Dino Thunder. If they weren't going to tie anything with Vengeance or tie anything previously at all, or any references, I at least would have just liked that, like a nice little send-off to the fans, just saying, you know, may the power protect you, thank you for your loyalty, 700 episodes, I mean, that's amazing. I just would have liked that at the end, that's all. And that also reminded me of another thing. It's kind of neat how they had the cliffhanger with Vengeance possibly or probably being in Scott's Morpher. I thought that was a nice ending. But overall, a great series. Fantastic. If you haven't seen it and you're a Power Rangers fan, you should definitely watch it. Great ending. Like I said, I just wish they would have said something at the end just to end it. And also, I don't think I said this at the beginning, the fact that I wish it would have aired on Disney XD. The fact that they revamped that whole network to be like boy-centric, to give Disney a boy network instead of their supposedly girly Hannah Montana network or whatever. I mean, this would have gone perfectly. I mean, at the beginning, like 99% of their shows on that network were all reruns, and the only original one was Aaron Stone, and that didn't even premiere very first. If they would have premiered Aaron Stone and Power Rangers RPM together, I believe Power Rangers would still be going strong. And even the new Mighty Morphin, they should put it on there, the reruns. I mean, even now, 85-90% of their stuff is reruns. I mean, they have Aaron Stone, Zeke and Luther shit, and I'm in the Band or whatever garbage. I mean, they have freaking Fresh Prince of Bel-Air and Spider-Man and X-Men from the 90s. They can have a 90s show on there, but that's for another day. But so, to conclude about Power Rangers as a whole, I mean, that's been a major part of my life in shaping who I am. Since I first saw Mighty Morphin when I was very, very young. I mean, it's been a fantastic ride. And in some senses, if I would have never discovered the internet, this would be like a really much huger deal for me. I mean, Power Rangers ending. But now that I've discovered other things, let's go on that in a minute. But it's been just a fantastic ride from the Saban Mighty Morphin to the end RPM. I mean, there was ups and downs, but it was still just a fantastic ride. I mean, the Mighty Morphins are classic, and then Saban era was obviously probably my favorite era. I mean, the best stuff came from that. When Disney got a hold of it, Ninja Storm, Dino Thunder, 2 great seasons in my opinion. I don't care what you say. If you hate Tommy, I love his seasons. Bruce Kaler's season's a little more touch and go. Some people like and hate each one. I personally like SPD. Don't throw any flaming arrows or shit. I liked Mystic Force in the end. Overdrive was okay. I kind of probably do a blog on all these seasons so I can talk about it if I rewatch them. Overdrive was okay. Probably one of my least favorites. Jungle Fury just sucked for me. There was parts I really liked, like RJ, but I just hated it. But anyway, RPM, perfect end. It was just a great ride for Power Rangers. I'm going to be really sad to see it go. But if you're like me, you've discovered the internet, the Power Rangers boards, Power Rangers community, and thanks to that, I discovered Sentai, which means that my fandom will live on in many senses. I mean, like I said, if I would have just still only watched Power Rangers, I'd be really upset. And even if I just think about it, like, I still can't believe Power Rangers is ending. It's been around so long. But, I mean, there's Shinkanger's a fantastic series, and backlog all the Sentai series if you haven't. If you're a Power Rangers fan and you're watching this, you should definitely check out Sentai. There's lots of it that's way better. And just the fact that I'm pretty confident Sentai will go on for a long time. I mean, it's been around 30 plus years, 31, 2, 3, it's going on 34 years, I believe now, this year with Ghost Age year. I mean, it's phenomenal. I'm glad I discovered it. Even Kamen Rider 2, I'm just so glad I have that. Otherwise, I wouldn't know what to do, where I'd get my Henshin Hero fix. I don't know whether we'll see Power Rangers in the future someday. Maybe. I think it's a bit different than series like Ninja Turtles or Transformers, which were traditionally like a cartoon or something that was made in America a lot of the times. There were American-produced series. Because with this, with the footage, I don't know whether I will bring it back. I don't want to get too much into the whole Disney thing, but I really wish they just let go of it and let someone else have it so that they can do a good job. I think that the strongest possibility I actually believe is animated. We may see in the future, which I'm not going to totally turn myself off to. I remember when there was the first possibility of animated, I was like, fuck this shit. But then I realized that they could do a lot of cool stuff. They could go places they could never go. They wouldn't have to worry about if they wanted a Power Ranger to come back from the past, they could just draw him back and not have to like get the actor and stuff. And they could do all kinds of different stunts. So maybe we'll see Power Rangers in the future, but for now it's time to say goodbye to the franchise. Power Rangers is still part of my life in a lot of ways. I'll be watching old episodes. Obviously Sentai, so it'll live on. So thank you, Power Rangers, for all you've done. Thank you to everyone who's worked on it. You really did a fantastic job. In particular, RPM making a great final season. It was really outstanding and just a great series to grow up on. And I really love it, and I'll miss it for sure. But there's Sentai to look forward to, as I said. If you're watching this, only a Power Rangers fan, definitely check out Sentai and Kamen Rider. I think you'll really like them. So that's it for my second blog. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope I didn't bore you too much going on my babbling.